All right. This is Listen to Tony with me, Anthony Olenski. Another press review. Today is Monday, June 5th, 5:37 p.m. And I got three articles for you today. But before we jump into them, I'm going to go start off with the usual, with a quote from my Chrome extension. And the quote goes as follows: As long as you live, keep learning how to live. And this is a quote from Seneca. Well, this guy was a smart dude. It's pretty self-explanatory. But if you don't get the quote, let me give you an example. Learning how to live doesn't mean like, oh, because you're by the age of 18, I guess you figured out how to use the toilet, how to drive a car, and how to go and, I don't know, buy groceries or whatever. It's more like how to live with your surroundings. So if AI is the rage right now and you're not using ChatGPT, you're not learning how to live in this new age. So constant learning, I guess, is the as long as you live, keep learning. And oftentimes it happens involuntarily, but sometimes we voluntarily decide not to learn. So when you think you know all your shit, you probably don't. Anyway, I'm gonna stop because this is kind of this is really basic stuff, and I guess all of you know this. So anyway, three articles. Number one is entitled "Why Entrepreneurs Are Choosing Short-Lived Businesses Over Forever Businesses." Forever businesses could be also called generational businesses, and this article is about. It's from Arvid Kahl. It's from the bootstrappedfounder.com website. So not a surprise that this article is or they're arguing for they're arguing. I'm going to tell you what they're arguing about or for in a second. But basically, yeah, if you're a first-time founder, don't think you're going to build the next unicorn from the get-go. Many first-time founders, as a quote, want to build a forever business from day one. And that is a terrible mistake in the world of digital entrepreneurship. So, stair-stepping versus Everesting. I'm going to read off the first paragraph. Rob Walling popularized the concept of stair-stepping, the idea of incrementally building bigger and more independent businesses by going from building on someone else's platform to eventually running your own software business. So the idea is to build enough small products to own your time. Once you're at that point, you shoot for the big goals. And even then, you might need to start and exit a few software businesses until you get to the big business and you were dreaming of building. Right? So the important feature of the stair-stepping approach is that risk is managed effectively. It's well distributed. If one small business venture doesn't work out, you can move on to the next without losing everything. If you plug in idea doesn't work, you come up with something new. And if your first alone SaaS business struggles, you can put your effort into your earlier small projects that you are still generating revenue. So the name of this approach is aptly chosen. If you hit a challenge, you just take a single step back, and you're able to just keep working. Now, this is in contrast with the go big or go home version of building a business. Try to build a massive business from the get-go. I call this Everesting because it feels like trying to summit challenging peaks without ever having climbed even a small hill. It's a very nice analogy. Yeah, I think people just try to. I fell into this trap where I thought like, yeah, I want to build the biggest, baddest, whatever. Like I want to build the next Uber or whatever from like day one. I had some experience, but start with small hills. Try a bunch of things, and I guess then go for the big one. It's very unlikely that you're gonna go hit the jackpot immediately. And this is what I guess really demotivates a lot of people who start companies when they realize, oh, this is not going to be the big thing, and they give up. So anyway, he says here in the article, too many founders think that they have to imitate unicorn startups to be a real founder. Well, that's what I just said, right? But this approach involves significantly more risk. If trying to Everest your first business fails, you stand to lose all your time and money investment and have nothing to fall back on. That forever business might come at some point, but it's much less risky to build a few temporary projects before that to get for that to get there. These early entrepreneurial experiments will teach you a lot about how markets work. The revenue from these products will be the catalyst for your bigger aspirations, and you will end up building assets that are quite sellable to other founders once you outgrow these projects. So definitely is more valuable than trying to do all at one start. So start small. That's the message of this part of the article. Then he mentions changing seasons, or it's like this is how the next section is entitled, and he gives an example of this oldest world's oldest company, Kongo Gumi, somehow it's something like this. It's a Japanese construction company that was founded in 578 AD, so almost 1,500 years ago. I had no idea this company existed. But yeah, so like this is, building homes hasn't really changed. So these guys are in the game for a long time because people just need houses and they know how to build houses. But this is in comparison to the artificial intelligence products, for example. Like there's this Cambrian explosion, he calls it, and there's a lot of change. And so all these tools that just pop up, cool tools, plugins, whatever extensions, but then they also tend to vanish. So he gives the example also of like a few years ago, concierge email was all the rage. Superhuman found success in the startup world and beyond. Remember the QR code hype, or how everyone tried to stuff a blockchain into their process? Yeah, I remember that one. In the digital business world, these trends come and go extremely quickly. The window to exploit them is severely time limited. If you were trying to build a forever business or generating QR codes, there was this French startup. What was it called? You guys know the company that you just walk up. It would sell to restaurants, and essentially they would offer a restaurant a QR code, and people could scan the QR code with their phone and just pay the bill directly. They raised like $100 million Series B, I think. Kind of ridiculous, but yeah. You're now looking at a world that moved on from this idea. Basically, doesn't mean that it wasn't a good idea back then, but you'll struggle to find new customers today. So century old construction companies don't have to reconsider their approach, whereas for businesses that are on the internet and dependent on software, you should. Digital entrepreneurship is definitely a game of changing seasons. And the last section of our article is entitled Monetizing Emerging Technologies. And he talks here about just building, again, the message here, I'm going to summarize this whole section for you, but you can read it on your own. But monetize early, find traction, and the biggest issue is distribution. So you cannot, like, the bigger companies have a better distribution channel most likely than you do. So once you start making money from something, either try to go for a fast exit or find a way to build a blue ocean to the extent that you can become as big or a big enough player that you become a competitor to say Adobe. And he gives here an example. So this guy Peter Levels is raking in $80K in monthly recurring revenue, running businesses on top of generative AI projects that are less than a year old. But the niche is so much bigger, and bigger companies in this space have noticed, and have called Lensa, implemented the same features Peter and his fellow indie hacker frenemy Danny Postma had built for their AI avatar product, and the app quickly made $1 million per day by just having massive distribution and pre-existing access to their phones and photos of their customers. So in conclusion, as businesses don't tend to last forever, it just has to do what it needs to do to serve its customers and its owners. Generational businesses are great, but we shouldn't ignore temporary businesses along the way. An entrepreneurial journey with many different milestones is a more interesting trip anyway. Well, I guess it's also kind of, this article is in praise of solo entrepreneurship in the hacker movement, and just build something that's going to be successful, it's going to make you money, and then move on and try different things. It's going to be more interesting. But once you, I guess, like, I would add one thing here. Once you find that thing that's like, whoa, like, people are loving it and like it has potential to be really, really big, maybe try to grind it out. And some people are lucky enough to hit the jackpot with their first idea and could build a generational company. So I'm not sure I entirely agree with the message of the article, which is basically build short-lived businesses over forever businesses, because forever businesses are hard. Doing hard things is the right way to go. Anyway, second article, it's the title is "By the time you give them a raise, they're already out the door," and it's a post by Jason Buchanan-Lemkin, this very vocal Twitter personality and SaaS expert. And basically, this whole article is about, and I'm going to read out the tweet and then summarize the article for you. If someone is looking for another job in year one, even if they don't take it, you already basically lost them. Do more one-on-ones, get more 360 feedback, talk more. I know you don't have time, make it. So, yeah, all these companies, he says in an article, are basically looking for rock stars, ninjas, whatever. Like, find them, don't settle. So yeah, you spend like a lot of time in recruiting because you don't want to fuck up your culture or whatever. But it's like number one job is like you put an amazing team, like a great team. That's the CEO. Like if you're the CEO, just do it. Like and then the second thing that a lot of people forget about or don't pay enough attention to is retention. According to Jason, but I also agree, and so he kind of gives examples of why people leave in like from different companies, and he gives examples like, here are some tips and tricks how to deal, and like thoughts how to deal with like retention and great employees leaving. Number one is, by the time you give them a raise, it's too late. They're already out the door. You have to get comp right as best as you can all the time. So yeah, pay market. Don't wait for someone to come back to you with two job offers and say, hey, I'm getting this and this salary from X, Y, and Z companies, pay me more. Like, you should just proactively pay people market or even above market, sometimes salaries, to make them happy and like not make sure they're not distracted by looking for other jobs, and just stay focused on the mission and execution. So yeah, he just says here, these days anyone good is going to get a 10 to 20% or higher raise to move, and likely bonus on top of that. The thing is, you can't counter. It's too late by that point. So you don't want them even to think about looking for another job, because if they do, they'll get like even a higher salary, and it's going to be like bad for, I guess, your balance sheet. So just make sure everyone is so happy that they don't even think about looking for another job, which could make them think about, oh, I should move because I'm going to get more dough. So yeah, once they tell you they have another offer, they're already out the door. A raise won't do it, at least not for the good ones. Number two, always pay market or above as soon as you can afford it, at least to the great ones. We just mentioned this. I just spoke about this. Number three is, it's probably not too late when they interview, so be paranoid and intervene. So if someone there's some very, very, very like telltale signs of someone interviewing out of the office at weird hours, talking on their mobile phone on the sidewalk, and moving away from you if you approach them to say hi, sick out of the blue one day, healthy at work the next, signs of frustrations in the posts on Facebook, and new connections on LinkedIn. Oh, weird, right? Signs of frustrations in their posts on Facebook and new connections on LinkedIn. God, it's a lot of work to just stalk your. I guess if you have like 5 or 10 or 20 people that are really core to your team and are really, really high performers, you could check like what's going on their Facebook and LinkedIn, but that would be. But he does say I should be paranoid. So yeah, it is a bit paranoia. Now, by the time they have another job, it's really too late. Even if a raise would work then, which it won't, the relationship is gone at that point anyway. But yeah, it's not necessarily too late when they start to interview. It may be in its own way a plea of exasperation as much as anything else. If you can fix that issue and you want to fix that issue, you can keep him, her more times than not. Number 4, for tips for like retaining great employees, is find a growth path for everyone, especially the great ones. I can relate to that. I'm saying, but like if you have to find a growth path for the great ones, they join a startup to grow, learn, to do new things. Yes. Like, people fucking forget that all the time. You don't join a startup like maybe for the equity or the salary, but no, like you join to learn, to grow, and to try new things. Like there's supposed to be this amazing career path where you're able to get a lot of responsibility and ownership at a relatively inexperienced or like young age. So if people can grow, they die a little every day. It's your job to understand the career path for at least the first 50 employees, know it, and do whatever you can within the boundaries of reality to help them achieve it. Here's an interesting side. It's in brackets. But bear in mind that the good but not great ones may not really want a growth path, or at least may not want the stress and hard work associated with it. So this really only works with those that really want to grow. Yeah, totally. If some people just like give them a lot of opportunities and apply a level of pressure and say, hey, why don't you get on this project and that project? And they're like, why me? Like, why me? And like, because listen, like, I'm giving you an opportunity to fucking grow. Like, this is gonna be great for you. It's gonna be hard. I don't know you don't know anything. Like, I know you don't know anything about this, but just pretend you do, or just say like you're gonna learn, or you're gonna teach yourself. Anyway, talk to people. That's number 5. For real, get real feedback at least once a quarter. So like, yeah, people don't really like annual reviews, whatever, but like one-on-ones, unstructured, like once a quarter, go out for coffee, I don't know, play or bowling or play some pool or whatever. Be friendly but blunt. You need to learn, get it out of them. Like just with your direct reports, once a quarter, meet up and like have this informal time of like an hour or two, and try to get their complaints in context, and not only general complaints that you can get through some form that HR sends out once every 2 weeks. So yeah, retaining, and here's the conclusion of the article. If nothing else, address retaining your top troops at least as seriously as you do recruiting them. And whatever you do, don't ignore the ones that don't complain. Yeah, I think that happened to me, and then I started maybe over-complaining at some point. Not over-complaining, but I just thought like, yeah, it's my one-on-ones were like, it's a longer story, but I had situations where like a lot of my one-on-ones were being canceled by my manager because they thought, yeah, he's doing okay, it's good, like he's not complaining, and I'm not gonna just try to get their attention to talk shit about or like what's not working. It's important to give feedback, I guess, and be really like feel ownership for the company and address things that you don't like. That also shows that you're managing up and like you should have a seat at the table because you really care about the company. And I guess managers, founders, executives like that. But yeah, I think for me also, when I was chief of staff, and the most interesting insights about the company about what's not working came from people that were usually just heads down, didn't say much at any all hands or any bigger meeting. So you really kind of need to sometimes work them to get it out of them, but it's always worth it. Anyway, third topic, it's an article from TechCrunch about Antimatter. This new app, and Antimatter uses memes to turn C students into C+ students. That's the title of the article. Basically, Antimatter is an edtech company that operates under the simple, enticing premise: if a student really understands a topic, then they will be able to make a meme about it. So here's a quote from the CEO: "To be able to shitpost, you have to understand the subject matter really well." Antimatter founder and CEO Jonathan Libov told TechCrunch last year. In a sense, shitposting is the highest form of consciousness. So shitposting, making all these funny memes that you can see on Twitter. And though it might sound bizarre, Antimatter is proving its hypothesis by the power of shitposting as an educational tool. The company just closed a $2 million seed round led by version 1. So tens of thousands of students and teachers are using Antimatter to bring memes into the classroom. Students can make memes with Antimatter's built-in meme generation tools on the web and iOS, creating visual jokes about what they're learning. Teachers can lead their class through group activities that use memes to help students synthesize information. So yeah, you can raise $2 million on a tool like that. But I suppose it works. It's like he says the software behind Antimatter doesn't just stop at memes. Lebov says, the CEO, that the ultimate power for Antimatter is to be a platform for learning through solving puzzles, and yes, making a meme is a puzzle. In the long arc of history, we might be back to cave drawings. It's visual representations of everything, Lebov says. Where do kids go when they need to learn something? They don't go to the blocks of text on Wikipedia and Google. They go to YouTube and TikTok. Interesting. Yes, I mean, this guy is obviously very erudite. Or at least sounds smart. He's a great salesperson. He knows how to sell a story. But so though Antimatter is designed for students, the company is also working on enterprise tools for large companies, which could also help Antimatter bring in some income. Because I guess they're not making any money right now. The students just use it. Lebov imagines a CEO hosting an all-hands call about quarterly goals, then asking employees to make memes about the company strategies for the quarter. We spoke to a bunch of Google employees, and whenever something newsy happens, they turn to memes. He told TechCrunch, he being the CEO. Every company has this in their Slack. True, yeah. I always wonder why people do that, or like why would you spend the time, but I guess it just helps them understand the thing, and also it does also show the culture of the company, and yeah, cool idea. I guess I don't know how expensive this could be or who would actually buy it, but if Google would be one of your first clients, then Jonathan, go you. So with so many, I'm just finishing up the article here. With so many powerful tools across the internet, students are inundated with a nearly infinite stream of information. Now with generative AI tools like ChatGPT, some educators are struggling to make sure students are actually turning in their own work. But with memes and community-centered learning, Antimatter is trying to motivate students to find joy in learning. And if learning is a joy, why ask ChatGPT to write your essay for you? Lebov often jokes that his startup's ultimate goal is to turn C students to C+ students. Sure, a better pitch would be that he wants to turn C students into A students, but what Lebov means is that he's not trying to put students through an intensive, rigorous tutoring regimen to churn out stellar SAT scores and perfect report cards. Instead, he just wants to make students curious and excited about their education. And if students get better grades along the way, then it's an added bonus. That'd be so cool if they had comments for this conversation. But no one has commented on this article yet. Funny, right? Like, you have a tool that lets kids organize, and a teacher actually would tell kids, like, here's an example, like, so if an AP Calculus student gets a prompt, second derivatives, they could make a meme that reinforces the concept that d to the power of 2 y divided by d to the power of 2x, a more complex way of denoting a second derivative, which is the same thing as f, whatever, like, it's more, yeah, basically, cool, like it, 2 mil, imagine how much you could do with 2 million on, like, why would you spend it on a meme creation tool? But I guess they got the press and they got my attention. Let me know what you think. You can always comment on the YouTube. But anyway, I'm baffled. All right, this is it. It's 6 p.m. Have a lovely rest of whatever Monday. I'm gonna post this on Monday. And as long as you live, keep learning how to live. So yeah, I guess 3 takeaways. Choose a short-lived business over a forever business. Make some money. 2 is retain the best people. And there are a few cool tips from our guy Jason. And yeah, if you don't know what to build something like an AI tool, a meme generation tool for high schoolers. And I think that definitely fits to the narrative of building a short-lived business, because I don't think antimatter is going to survive for long, but hope I'm wrong. Anyway, bye!